Then we'll move to the Law and Licensing Committee. Board Member Lear.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is 11.2, R277, yes, R277-419-4, a different section than was just discussed in the Finance Committee. And this had to do with a waiver from Canyons School District for one school that had an emergency and sought a waiver, and the Law and Licensing Committee thought that was legitimate. The committee moves that the board approve the waiver request from R277-419-4 for Union Middle School, Canyon School District.
Okay, the motion before us is to approve the waiver request from R277-419-4 for Union Middle School in the Canyon School District. Is there any discussion to that motion? Board Member Belknap?
May I speak to the chair of the committee?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Carol, was there any discussion on them using their own kind of set-aside days first before they did the full waiver?
Angie's remembering that. I don't specifically remember.
Okay.
I thought there was some, my recollection, or my vague recollection is that sometimes schools don't have enough days, but Angie may remember more detail.
Go ahead.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Vice Chair. In this instance, it wasn't just the number of days, it was actually the day definition in the rule that has a certain minimum hours per day. So what they did, because the fire burned a portion of their school, they went to split day schedule, meaning half of the student population came half the day and the other. So it was more than just whether they met the 180, but the definition of school day, they had a little shorter time, so it was more than that.
Thank you.
Okay, so seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is to approve the waiver request from R277-419-4 for Union Middle School in the Canyon School District. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
And the next item, and now I'm, as many times as we've discussed this, I'm kind of, because it's a little circular, I'm getting confused again about what our outcome is. 11.3, Board, R277-121, Board Waiver of Administrative Rules. The point was to not have the kinds of waivers brought consistently to the board, as we just discussed, but rather to have a process for the superintendent to make those decisions and facilitate the requests made by LEAs. And now I'm remembering that, or now the motion says that Board Member Davis moved to send R277-121 back to staff for revisions discussed in the Law and Licensing Committee and bring it to the committee. So now we are to, I think, what our draft 2 is about. Is that right, Angie? Yeah,
No, that'll be
She's walking and
committee
thinking at the
discussion.
same time.
It is going to be on the agenda tomorrow because
Right.
the motion was for me to update the rule, and so we'll be discussing it tomorrow.
Okay, so there's really no required
No
action.
motion on this one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Good memory. The next item is 11.4, R277-100, asking or addressing the concern we had about the definition of the term suspension so that LEAs would have a clear definition and know how those should be when those should be, not when, but how, what kinds of incidents result in suspensions and numbers of students involved, et cetera. So Board Member Earl moved to approve R277-100, Draft 1, as amended on first reading. And, the motion for the board is the committee moves that the board approve R277-100, definitions for Utah State Board of Education rules, Draft 2, on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion for the board is to approve R277-100 definitions for Utah State Board of Education rules, Draft 2 on second and final reading. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now we have another rather complicated item here. 11.5, R277-613, LEA disruptive student behavior, bullying, cyberbullying, hazing, retaliation, and abusive conduct policies and training. Just for an amendment and a continuation. There was much discussion and, oops, sorry about that. And in the end, the committee moved that the board approved and continue R277-613, same title, draft 3 on second and final reading. But now we have a substitute motion, and I'm not sure when that should be introduced.
A substitute, let's get the motion on the table and then you can
Okay,
amend the
that,
motion.
the motion is, as I just
Okay.
read, the committee moves the board approve and continue 613, same title, draft 3 on second and final reading.
So the motion before the board is to approve and continue R277-613, LEA disruptive student behavior, bullying, cyberbullying, hazing, retaliation, and abusive conduct policies and training, draft 3 on second and final reading. Did you have a substitute?
We do have- now have a-
An amended motion, or you'd like to
We-
amend the motion?
It could be an amended motion, because I guess it would still continue, no, it would not continue. The amended motion is that this rule be referred back to committee for discussion that would include a possible breaking apart of this rule into 2 or maybe 3 rules, and involving other stakeholders who had concerns about this. So the motion is to send it back to committee
Okay.
for discussion.
So just for clarification, that's not an amended motion, but a motion to refer back to committee?
Yes, that
Okay,
is.
so that's the motion before us. Is there okay, thank you. The motion before us is to refer R277-613 back to committee. Is there any discussion to that motion? Yeah, seeing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously.
Okay, the next item is 11.6, and it was just a discussion item, so we don't have to further discuss it. The next item is 11.7, R277-309, appropriate licensing and assignment of teachers, which is a new rule. The motion for the board is that the board approve R277-309, appropriate licensing and assignment of teachers, draft 2, on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion before the board is to approve R277-309, appropriate licensing and assignment of teachers, draft 2, on second and final reading. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, oh, yep, Board Member Cannon.
I believe this was one that was, that Angie was talking about, that we needed to make a change here. And the change would be, rather than draft 2, we would move to accept draft 4.
Oh, that was this. That was, thank you, Janet. Take the
So,
village,
so
right?
maybe Angie can clarify that a little
Yes.
further.
Yes, be happy to. So the committee approved draft
Draft
3.
Yes. So we
says-
need, Board Member Cannon, was that an amendment
This is an amendment to the motion,
to approve draft 4?
rather than draft 2.
Is there a second to that motion? Okay, so the motion, the amendment is to approve draft 4.
No, I know.
Okay,
It says draft 3.
Deputy Superintendent Stallings, are you going to speak to that amendment?
Actually, Ben will speak to
Okay,
You want to scan down there. Essentially, this rule contains the general requirement that in order to have an educator position, you have to have a license. What the draft 4 would do would make an exception in the case of a school social worker position, that the school social worker license area is optional. So it's on lines 125 to 127 in green on your screen.
okay. Board Member Davis, do you have a question in regard to this motion?
Are you taking speakers?
So we have a motion on the table, which is to pass draft 4. The amendment is to substitute draft 2 for draft 4. So that's the amendment. Draft 4 for draft 2, yes. So are you speaking to that motion?
Yes.
That amendment? Say, go ahead.
Yes. I just want to speak to the motion, and thank you, Janet. That was the one I was going to bring up as well. I just want to say something about consistency again. Some people have said we've got this kind of dual optional situation now, but the optional pathway is consistent because social work is the only bifurcated scenario that we have right now with our service providers, where some who are working right now are DOPA licensed and some are school licensed. So the pathway forward that we're recommending actually is consistent with the bifurcated milieu.
Today. I think it opens the door to other possibilities. is what
Board
you-
Member Lear, did you have a comment
I
on this?
did.
Thank you.
Today, but not currently, but one of my reservations that I'm not sure overcomes my willingness to move, to do this, is that it just causes the same patchwork situation that we were trying to solve with the streamlined licensing process. And it's certainly going to be my intent going forward to look for every opportunity I can to further the licensing requirements. And I just think it opens that door.
Okay, seeing no further comment, the amendment before us is to substitute draft 4 for draft 2. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that amendment passes unanimously. Back to the main motion, which is to approve R277309 appropriate licensing and assignment of teachers draft 4 on second and final reading. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously.
Item 11.8 is R277929, Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission, State Council, which is a new rule. There was a bill passed some years ago that gave sort of special dispensation for students in among active military families, and it included a special commission that would meet annually-ish and talk about any concerns individual states have about this. And originally, that committee was supposed to be designated by the governor's office. That this rule provides something different, which would establish that committee from the board's office. So it's sort of a technical change or a geographic change, so to speak. But right now, we have the committee moving that the board approve R277-929, Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission, State Council, draft 1 on second and final reading.
The motion before us is to approve R277929 Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission, State Council, draft 1 on second and final reading. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes
I have
unanimously.
one before we leave this committee. I think I didn't clean up 121, did we?
We're talking about it tomorrow in committee.
How many times do you have to tell me? Thank you very much. We are done.
Thank you,
Done
Board
and
Member
done.
Lear. Okay,